Hey guys, it is Elizabeth Housen with House and History, and on today's Teaching Tidbits, I'm going to talk to you about my baby, a thing I created called History Fluency. To start, let's start with that word fluency. What does it mean? Fluency is the ability to express oneself easily and readily. Do you know it? And so the way that this idea popped into my brain was my son was in preschool. He was learning how to read. He was learning to add numbers. And we would ask him real quick, hey, CAT, what does it spell? 2 plus 2, what does it equal? And he's trying to tell us the answers quickly. And so I'm sitting in class one day going over information with students, and they're like, you didn't teach us about the colonies. Yes, I did. And right away, my brain said, fluency. I need to come up with a way. I need to develop a system in which we can connect our information and have an easy way, a routine way for us to review every week. We try to do every week. I know if you follow my Instagram, you see I do a lot of different stations, so sometimes it's not every week, but we do it enough to where it stays in their brain. Like seriously, guys, I teach 8th graders, and when they're juniors, they come up to me and they're like, Miss Housen, I'll never forget, my cat just vomited purple marshmallows, because they know it stands for Magna Carta, Jamestown, Virginia, and Plymouth, Massachusetts. They remember the things that we teach them with fluency. I break my fluency down into thematic warm-ups. You do not have to do it that way. I know I have an amazingly awesome teacher that works in my district, and he likes to do them on Fridays, which is super awesome for him. That works for his class. But I do mine as thematic warm-ups. It gives me something to say, hey, here's what we're doing each day. We do Mapping Monday, Timeline Tuesday, Writing Wednesday, because we all know writing is important in social studies, Thinking Thursday. This is where I do my questions. We take STAR in the state of Texas. They take it for 8th grade. This is where I do them so that students can practice. And then Fact Friday. Sometimes that's a game. Sometimes that's making index flashcards. Sometimes it's filling out our passport and unit page that I've talked about to you guys before. So we do that throughout the week. It gives us that opportunity to make sure that we're reviewing all year long. The other great thing about this year-long review is that if my students test and they don't do great on a standard, this is where I put it back in. I'm going to put it into one of those days that I know in history, we don't have time to reteach whole units. We just don't. On average, in the state of Texas, 8th grade students learn about 11 new little facts a day. That's a lot. And so I don't have time to just say, stop, go backwards. So I add information into my warm-ups. So for instance, one year on a common assessment, my kids, they could not understand what a harbor was. Did not get that question right. I made sure on my Mapping Monday, the words I use match what is going to be in my standards, and I ask those questions as I go through it with my students. Mapping Monday, how does it work? Well, we sketch map the United States, we draw it out, and as we learn, we add to it. Now, here is the deal. We start over every single time we do it. We go back to that information. We review. It allows me to ask the questions, to say the things, to use the words that they need to know. Make sure I'm covering the Puritans and using that word correctly. We're talking about the rocky soil in New England, or maybe I need to mention the fundamental orders of Connecticut. It gives me a chance to talk about those things and go back to it. We stop at the unit we're at. So at the very beginning, I go from doing my geography and I stop at exploration. And then the next Monday, or maybe even the next, depending on how far we have covered our curriculum, I might go from my geography to then going to the colonies. And so we keep adding. But the important thing is that you don't just keep the same map, is they have to create a new map every time we do it. By the end of the year, yes, this takes a long time to do in class, but it is 100% worth it. I have seen my state test scores rise. I have seen the confidence in my students because they're like, oh yeah, I remember it. We're good to go. Sometimes we've taken it and we've gone over 2 days where I'll stop it after 10 or 15 minutes and then the next day we'll finish it, and it works for us. The kids have that confidence. When they take their state test and they get that scratch paper, they go ahead and they write it out, and they even come back and they say, Miss Howson, it helped. It's not that the answers, it wasn't a direct question that went to that answer, but it helped my brain. It framed my brain into what I need to know. I am going to put the link to the Mapping Monday that I do, to the Mapping Fluency, so that you can watch the whole thing. Keep in mind it is long. This is beginning to end. And also keep in mind it is made for my students, but change the words to fit yours. Change it to fit what you need, the standards you need for your state, or the things that your students need to know. So on Tuesday, we do what we call Timeline Tuesday. In the state of Texas, we have 6, but I've added a 7th date that the students have to know. Like it is, these are the dates they have to know. And so we have a mnemonic phrase for that. The students are able to memorize that a lot easier than just memorizing the events for them. And so we go through that. And just like the mapping, the same way, we build it up right to where we're at. And then the next time we do Timeline Tuesday, we start over and we build up. And by the time we've done this, 3-4 times, the kids are pretty quick in that beginning stuff and remembering it. This is where we're able to put in a lot of those mnemonic phrases or those acronyms that we've created in class. If you want to see some of those acronyms and mnemonic phrases, definitely go to my IG page. I have a ton there. I'm also dropping down in the description a link that's going to take you to my timeline in which I talk about all of those mnemonic phrases and acronyms that we use in my class. Of course, some of them were created by my students. So go ahead, have a contest. Let your students work to create it if you want to do that. It works great. If not, definitely borrow mine that are right down, linked in that description. We use Wednesday to do a lot of writing. It is imperative that our students are able to write, especially as our state standards, I'm in the state of Texas, as I've said, with STAR, are changing their question types. And so they'll have to do some short answers. So we definitely want to practice that. But I also just want to have my kids practice writing in general. And so we will do a lot of things with Writing Wednesday. We'll ask a lot of those compelling questions, not just straight like yes, no, give me just one answer. We try to really get the kids thinking and writing. I've also done activities where I have used vocabulary words and said, hey, here's 3 words. Create a historical paragraph that uses them, something that we've been talking about so that you can use the words with it. I've also done in the Writing Wednesday, sometimes we've done our mnemonics and our acronyms to make sure that the students really know it. Can they fill those in? If they saw on the test a question about the Articles of Confederation, are they going to put the correct acronyms down there so that it helps frame their brain to remember their information and choose the best answer? Thinking Thursday for us is test type questions. I never want my students to walk into a test and be surprised over the types of questions. And we like to practice them on Thursday. And so this will definitely be imperative being in the state of Texas, and our test is completely changing into adding different types of questionings to where the students will have a drag and drop to label things. They will have hot spots, multi-select, multi-part. And so we're going to practice these on Thursdays. I'm still working my way through figuring out how I'm going to do them. I'm sure if you're in the state of Texas, 8th grade, and you're like, I'll share those. I'm working my way. If you have a great way, let me know too. But Thinking Thursday is to practice our knowledge. Can we use it and apply it to some of those test questions? And then finally, Fact Friday. Fact Friday is kind of open. It is a review of the content. Sometimes we play games. I love Quizlet Live. It is my place to go. I like it because we can play multiple games. We can get multiple winners in a very short time period. We played Kahoot. We also just play bingo on paper, or the kids make hashtags. Sometimes it's them making their own flashcards for their notebook, or we play headbands. Sometimes the kids have finished their passport and unit pages and gone over that, and I've asked them questions. We've also done quizzes, like a quiz, not quizzes online, but an actual quiz for the students on Friday. But that is the history fluency. It is this idea of, can you recall, can you connect the information? The big thing is, of course, those Mondays and Tuesdays, which don't have to be Monday and Tuesday for you, but just the mapping and the timeline, connecting that information. Of course, I'm talking specifically about early U.S. history. I know that I've seen some people turn it into their later U.S. history, world history. I have some Texas history teachers on campus that have done some awesome things with it. But I hope that idea helps you. I hope it works. Check out the links that are in the description to help you. I'm also going to link my presentation for you. And I hope you have a fantastic school year. Bye.